Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll bring you my reaction to Percy Jackson Season 2, Episode 1, titled I Played Dodgeball with Cannibals. Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson race to defend Camp Half-Blood from dangerous forces. Now, this is exactly what I thought the first episode was going to be called, and the second episode being called Demon Pigeon Attacks also is what I thought it was going to be. So they are still picking chapters from the book to give their episode titles, and based off of those titles, these first two episodes cover exactly what I thought they were going to as well. In that, similar to in season one, you've got all of the pre-camp stuff in episode one, and all of the at camp stuff in episode 2, and then they start the quest from episode 3. Because the synopsis for episode 1 is Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson race to defend from dangerous forces. Which, given that it's got the title of chapter 2, and it involves the synopsis for stuff that happens in chapter 4, yeah, that's going to be all of the pre-camp stuff. But we'll see just how much of that is translated, because we do know from the trailer and that some things are going to be changed. So let's see how well I was able to predict what has been changed based solely off of the trailer. So let's get this started in 3, 2, 1, go. Yep, don't have subtitles on. There we go. The irony of the one who says we're all on the same team being the traitor and the bully being on the good side is. I still do find that funny to be juxtaposed so closely. Okay, I like seeing the prophecy laid out. Like, on the visuals. Now, it was pointed out to me that, the difference from the book in that is there was a witness who saw, Percy land a blow on the previous best sword fighter at camp, because he never did that in the book. So they've actually upped Percy's notoriety. Now, yes, Luke was holding back, but okay, I was correct about this being the opening. So this is the stand-in for my best friend shops for a wedding dress. because I don't expect there to be a store that sells them out in this location. Send me a sign. I mean, could be a sign. Looks like a can. Did you do that, or was this a trap? Oh. Hmm. They're doing this right from the start, okay. Okay, yes. See, the nature magic from a pan flute is what was missing from Grover's character in the first one. Though he does seem to be a wee bit more competent with it than um he was in the book. And yep, I was right about that being where Percy woke up. So far, I've been spot on what I thought the trailer was saying. Why do you have bowls under your bed? God, his voice is so much deeper. That photo was in the book, except he carried it around with him in a book as he went to school. The one from Grover's new. The hell is that? Jarvis here of some sort. Oh, Tyson's here. Okay. Okay. Slight changes, but here we are getting to actually see Merryweather. Percy didn't know Tyson was a Cyclops until like for the entire school year. Um, Apparently, it's not uncommon for Cyclops babies to be abandoned on the streets. They grow up as homeless people, and Tyson just happened to be one of those outreach kids that they Meriwether Prep brought in to make them look good, in Percy's own words, and just grew close to Percy. But um, yeah, he didn't know he was a Cyclops or anything. But having Sally work at with homeless shelters is nice. Oh, they're showing that early as well. Or your friend who sounds like your mother. Okay, they're establishing a lot of things early. Now, we didn't see Matt Sloan or any of the other stuff from Meriwether Prep, but I'm surprised we even saw the school at all with how it feels like they're structuring this. Grover? Yes. That's a little embarrassing. Yeah, they really have streamlined that whole first chapter. Well, pretty much the first two chapters so far. Angel, Wasp, and Tempest. They're both getting embarrassed. just completely unseen by the mortals. Nope, that's Luke. Oh, we do get the eye thing. I figured because of the whole mist travel then that there would. The location you seek. I do still have issue with the fact that they're only meant to have like one tooth between them if I'm remembering correctly. Well, it was fun. What do you mean by fire? Well, she did say her dad was taking her to Disneyland. Why were you so gung ho to leave and get me? And oh, there's a second one. That wasn't in the trailer. There was only the first one aiming towards Annabeth. Well, there's the fire. Right now we're having a they're mixing together. I play dodgeball with cannibals, and Tyson plays with fire. They're taking the enemy of one in the location of the other. I really did think from the first trailer that that was going to be when he was revealed. Plus, it doesn't have the added danger of having been celestial bronze cannonballs in the book, which did raise the question as to why he was able to tank hits from it. But doesn't protect Percy. Percy's gonna protect his friend. One of them got through. And looking a little more orky than I was expecting. And there she is. Border control. What do you mean monster attacks? Like Canadians? They took out the Canadian line. Hmm. She is smart enough to have come up with that, but that was. And there he is. It does sound exactly like what Percy would say to him. He seemed a lot more conflicted about that than I would have expected. Hmm. I got the same poison. I wasn't sure if they were going to because they didn't have the pit scorpion in the first one, so so the tree was poisoned before they got there in the book, and there was no one who actually knew it was Luke. Like they thought it would was. Why are the subtitles calling her Clarissa? He's being claimed as another son of Poseidon. Yeah, that's Dionysus' response. This does feel like it's flying through, but I think there's going to be a lot more character driven stuff. Yeah, Zeus is also the son of Cronos. Saved the world, stopped a war between the elder gods. And here I thought maybe there was a chance he was being genuine. That's what the quest would do. Hmm. Change up the vibes of that whole like interaction. That interact like the scene wasn't in the book, but the feel of Dionysus, Tantalus, and Percy, the fact that everyone's actually seemingly following Tantalus. Yeah, because in the book he was not liked. Been given cabin confinement. It'd be interesting to see what people don't know. People who don't know the book read into. Big bully and they show the scars he got from the interaction. But that's where it was going to be ending. Why does he have a pet? Whatever that tentacles connected to. That's new. There's a Seder skull. So this was actually something Grover intentionally did in the book. Hey, we're just getting this whole thing immediately. Just getting it all laid out. Alright. The mapping is. I thought this was going to be in the big house. The first one you come to is neither of the administration, it's your best friend. Or at least your best camp friend. The whole thing's changed. I wasn't sure if they were gonna have it changed or not, but already showcasing a lot of things that are happening in this, including a couple of the changes. I'll start listing these off as we see them in the show. What the hell was that one? There's a Grey Sisters taxi. I was going to talk over this, but I want to take this in at least once, because normally I just pause it and then talk about the episode. Hmm. I'm guessing those giant faces in the water are meant to be the Lestragonians. Because they were the only thing that wasn't really showcased. And that's where we're going to pause it. We don't need to see the trailer for the next one. Okay, so this did cover everything that I thought it was going to, and more, because this also covered chapter 5. So we covered pretty much the first 66 pages in 40 odd minutes, like 42 minutes. Now, there was pretty much most of chapter 2 taken out. So that's pretty much 13 pages. There was a lot. I think it's easier to just go through what the book was compared to the. So the book starts off dream about Grover. Grover's running through streets of Florida, running from something in a storm. Um, Stumbles upon a wedding shop and ducks inside and starts addressing Percy. And he's not sure if the empathy link has worked yet, but he's still saying, come on, hopefully this works. Because it was something he was intentionally trying to do. It's not really described as a link between a nature spirit and a demigod in the book. It's usually described as a link between nature spirits that Grover just tried to do on Percy. Like, he's the first one to have such a close bond with a demigod to have tried it. And um, they don't really get to talk very much other than for Percy to get the sense that he's in danger before the roof of the shop is um, ripped off and Grover's plucked out while wearing a wedding dress. And that's pretty much where the dream ends. So Percy wakes up, goes down, talks to his mum, says, I think he tells her a little about the dream, and starts talking about camp. So it's like, it may not be the best place for you to be going right now. And Percy's like, what do you mean by that? And it's like, have you heard something? And she's like, we'll talk later. How about you, me, and Tyson? We'll go to this new skateboard shop and you can look at things while we discuss what we're going to do. Percy knows something's up because his mum's being cagey, and also they're a little strapped for money, but she's offering to get him skateboard. So, um, it's like, yeah, okay, we'll do that later today. He goes, but he needs to leave immediately because Tyson gets antsy if Percy's late because they walk to school together. Um, so they go to Merriweather Prep. They are getting bullied. Like, we saw Tyson stumbling around and all of that, and people laughing at him. And Percy's like, I'm his only friend. That is the same as in the um, book, except there was also this gang of bullies led by Matt Sloan, who just made their life even worse than just normal people laughing at someone stumbling. And to the point that they're like these exchange students who are with Sloan, these big, like, basically 6 foot guys who weren't really all the brightest in what Percy described them as, and they all had like "Hi, my name is" tags, except they'd written like Bones, Splitter, Marrow Sucker, and all that. And that's where we find out about the picture that Annabeth sent to him, because he had it in his book for school, and Sloane sees that, takes it, starts laughing like, "Oh, is this your girlfriend?" Hands it to the exchange students. They start making spitwads out of it. Then they go to PE, and it's dodgeball game, which is where the title of "I Play Dodgeball with Cannibals" comes in, because they split into sides. The bullies all on one side, Percy and the bullied on the other side, because it's him, Tyson, and a couple of others who aren't in good social standing. Um, they are on the other, and all of a sudden the dodgeballs, they start turning into flaming cannonballs made of celestial bronze that the Laestrygonians, as it turns out the exchange students are, starts picking him up and talking to Percy directly, being a monster to demigod kind of conversation. They end up blowing out a wall in the school, and Percy and Tyson escape through it with the help of Annabeth, who has been following Percy around all day under her invisibility cap. Like, she was on the fire escape outside his window. She was, I think she was also in the street as he was leaving to go to school. She calls out to him in the hall, but obviously she's invisible. And she takes out the last Laestrygonian, I'm pretty sure. Percy takes out a couple. Tyson takes out a couple. He actually catches one of the flaming cannonballs, but Percy still doesn't know that he's a Cyclops, so he's like, what the hell is going on? Why aren't you hurt by that? But before there's any explanation, they have to flee the school. Annabeth calls the Grey Sisters cab. She's not happy that Tyson is there, but they have that exchange about their dreams. Like, haven't you had the dreams? You mean about Grover? No, I mean about camp. Well, it's just about Grover. But they get in the cab. Um, as they're speeding down the streets, because you actually are speeding down the streets, not through this weird, like, little connection of time and space that this mist travel was. Um, they had the conversation with the Grey Sisters. They do actually need the eye in the book, so while Percy's holding it out the window, they're veering and slamming into barriers and all of that. And they're like, okay, we'll answer your question in the most cryptic way possible by giving you a set of coordinates that they don't find out until, like, chapter 10, I think it is. I think that's when it comes out. But yeah, they get to camp. They've dealt with the Laestrygonians. They're all dead. They rock up. Camp's on fire because these giant mechanical bulls are charging in and out of the barrier. They don't count as monsters, so they're not really restricted by it. They do have some pushback, but pretty much free reign, and they can breathe fire. They're the Colchis bulls. Um, and so Clarissa's border patrol, that's what they're fighting. They actually get bodied pretty heavily by the bulls until Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson come through. Um, Percy, I think, takes out one of the bulls, but he also calls out to Clarisse, distracting her, and she gets hit by the other one. And then Tyson can't get through the barrier. Annabeth lets him through. He charges through, just straight punches the other one in the snout, crumpling it. It's still alive, so the Border Patrol take it out. But that's how he gets in. Like, he's actually needed for the protection of camp, rather than just protect him from the giants. Um, then that is when Percy learns that he's a Cyclops, because Annabeth is like, hey Percy, look at his face. Actually look at it, past the mist and everything, focus on what his face is. And Percy sees that he only has one eye. So that is chapters 2 through 4. Now, initially, Percy is like, they're all excited to see Percy. He turns the tide of battle and everything. They're like confused as to why he has a Cyclops with him. And they're like, hey, the barrier's weakening because Thalia's trees were poisoned. Like, this has been going on for a few days now. Increased monster attacks and everything. What's Chiron doing it about it? Chiron's not really here anymore. He's been replaced by Tantalus. They go to the big house, see Chiron packing the last of his things, and so he leaves. They meet Tantalus. Very different vibe. Like, he feels the same, but also different. Like, the situations they have him in is different, while him still feeling the same. More focused on the entertainment that he would have had as a king, more focused on lording over people, more focused on trying to get food despite his curse. Meanwhile, Dionysus just keeps taunting him like, "Oh, I'm sure it's only going to take a couple days for your curse to wear off. Now that you're out of the fields of punishment, why don't you try it again? Maybe you can reach it now." And then just laughing when the food runs away from him. Um, but all in all, this is Annabeth is annoyed at Percy because Percy is with the Cyclops. He's like, "Why are you being so hard to him?" She's like, "You wouldn't understand. There's some thing alluded to with her and Cyclops is that she's right. Percy doesn't understand." Then Tantalus in front of the whole camp at like lunch or dinner, I forget which one. He's like, "Now we need to discuss what to do with this Cyclops. I suggest throwing him into the woods for some training practice for all of you to get better at your monster fighting." And that's when Poseidon's symbol comes upon above Tyson's head, and all of the excitement that people had for seeing Percy back after a year immediately turns to them ridiculing him for having a Cyclops for a brother. Because Annabeth did say in an earlier chapter that, yeah, it's the Cyclops are monsters, sure, but they've worked with the gods. They work in the forges of the gods. They made Zeus's lightning bolt, Poseidon's trident, all of the weapons. They're usually the offspring of gods and nature spirits. Well, one god in particular, and that's where she leaves it. Percy then learns out that that god in particular is Poseidon when Tyson gets claimed. And then he has now the dream with um Grover, I think actually comes during Demon Pigeon attacks, because they're making their chariots um for the race, and him and Annabeth aren't really talking to each other. Like they were gonna work together. Then she said something about Cyclops. He came to Tyson's defense. They had an argument. So she's like, "I'm going to the Athena one. You can make a chariot with Tyson if you want." And so Percy comes to her the day of the race, just before it starts. And it's like, "Hey, I had this weird dream. Um, it's about Grover. He's saying it's here. I don't know what it's talking about. Something about giving. I forget what it actually was. Um, let's see. I'm trying to find the exact. It's like, oh yeah. He goes into a second room with Grover, where Grover's wearing a wedding dress. So Polyphemus, because he got stabbed in the eye by Odysseus, he's not got very good vision even for a Cyclops. So he thinks that Grover is a female Cyclops, and he's planning to marry him. And Grover's like, "Oh yeah, I'll just gotta get ready and everything. Gotta make this bridal train because traditions." And then he notices Percy in the dream. He's like, "You need to help me. I'm in a cave on an island. I was in Florida and turned left. Um, there's a reason no satyrs ever come back. He's a shepherd. He has it. Nature magic. It smells like Pan. Satyrs come here thinking that they found Pan and they get. They do say Polyphemus. Okay. Um, that's when he finds out that the first empathy link did work. Um, doesn't they don't actually get into the whole potential of if Grover dies, then Percy could die as well because this empathy link was created. Um, let's see. Yeah, they never actually say the Golden Fleece or anything. It just says it's here. So Percy goes to Annabeth, says, "Hey, I had another dream about Grover, mentioning cave in a sea, mentioned it was Polyphemus, mentioned nature magic, and she's like, oh, you just happened to have a dream about the one thing that could save camp right before this big competition where we're meant to be on opposite sides. And like there are parts of Annabeth who's like, look, I know Percy wouldn't lie about this. I know he wouldn't lie about Grover, but also there's the chance that he's just trying to psych me out because that's the issue with an over analytical brain of you will think of every possibility even if they're not likely. So that she's like, okay, we'll discuss it after, and then all the events of the chariot race happen. So this was pretty much the first 5.5 chapters in 42 minutes, not counting the ending. And it felt there were parts that were going very quick. Like the whole pretty much first 3 chapters were done in 16 minutes by my recording, and I spoke a bit before I started the reaction. So I don't know how much of the actual episode it was. And then the rest were just the next two. But yeah. So there were some changes. I still don't agree with Disney's whole, oh, you need to get the quest started as soon as possible. Like, having all of the pre-camp stuff in the first episode, having all of the at-camp stuff in the second episode, and then having the quest be for the rest of it. Like, if they actually let the start breathe a bit, I would not feel like this is as rushed as it was. I always said that in season 1 they needed one more episode at the start. Just turn those first 2 episodes into 3 episodes. Then start the quest from episodes 4 through 9. And it feels like this season's going to feel the same way of very rushed at the start, and then bits of the quest are going to be able to breathe a lot more than they did in the book. Like, there are a couple things that I'm expecting to be just full episodes on this one location. So, I don't know. But anyway, that was episode 1. I do need to end this now because I have to go stream and then start working on my breakdown of this. But it was good. The changes are all what I was expecting from the second trailer. I was correct about everything, except I never would have guessed that Percy already knew at the start of the season that Tyson was Cyclops. Because Cyclops is a monster. And yes, I know we have that whole thing with Sally in season 1 of not everyone who looks like a monster is a monster, which is pretty much the whole point of Tyson in this second book, is to disprove that whole notion of just because someone looks like they're a monster, just because you've been told your whole life, or, well, not your whole life, in Annabeth's case, it's her whole life, to hate this one thing, you don't have to do it. There are things that can prove that wrong. And yeah, so I know that was a whole thing in the first one, and it was talking when staring at the statue of Perseus and Medusa. And then Medusa turned out to actually be a monster. But so I can see that. I can see Sally seeing this young Cyclops because Tyson's meant to be a young child in terms of Cyclops terms at the point that he meets Percy. And that is why he seems like he has learning difficulties, is because he's actually a young child who looks like he's a 6th grader or 7th grader. I don't remember which one it is. And yes, but I could see Sally in both versions because remember, in the book she can see through the mist as well, so she obviously knows Tyson is a Cyclops in that as well. She's met him many times. She just doesn't tell Percy for some reason. Probably because she knows how much Tyson needs Percy, the friendship, how important it is to Percy, and doesn't want that painted by what he's experienced in the monster world so far, until it's like cemented that, yeah, Tyson's a good dude. I can see that. So anyway, I'm gonna end this one here. Enjoyable first episode, covered more than I thought it would, but also it's not surprising how much they cover. Like, I was expecting it to end with the with Luke stabbing the tree, like them getting to camp, and that Luke flying off was going to be where the first episode ended. Which could also be why I'm feeling this was so rushed, because we still had pretty much a third of the episode after that, if not half an episode, that still had to be done. So, anyway, I'm going to end this one here. I'll catch you in the next one.